Alright guys, hello, hope you're all well. This is Dan speaking, trying to do a little different intro for different videos just to change things up a little bit. But in today's video, what I want to look into is actually the full details of Battlefield 5's 5th chapter, the Pacific Theater, and all of the new content coming with this free update, which releases on the 31st of October this year. Now, there is a decent amount of content to delve into here. This is the first time, and I won't lie, I have actually been excited for Battlefield 5. The prospect of the Pacific Theater, of having the US and the Japanese, is something which I have dreamt about for Battlefield for a very, very long time now. So DICE, please do not fuck this up. But anyway, with all of that said and done, please do sit back and relax. Let's get started. Okay, so before we get into the actual meat of this update, start getting into the details, I do want to play you the trailer because it is so fucking good. This is the kind of trailer which I associate with Battlefield. This is the kind of trailer that gives me those feelings of Battlefield. If only the official reveal trailer could have been this exact trailer or something similar to it, then I reckon the game would have had a much better reception at launch. But anyway, I'll play the trailer for you and then we'll get into the details.
Support is on the way.
Okay, so that is the Pacific Theater trailer. It is incredible. I know, fucking hell. The difference between that and the official reveal trailer is just ridiculous. But anyway, first and foremost, we have obviously two new factions which are going to be added into Battlefield 5. That being the United States and Japan. This is very self-explanatory. I mean, it is the Pacific Theater of World War II, so this is kind of expected. But it is important to note that these factions at least appear to be historically accurate in the trailers. Now, I'm talking about equipment, weaponry, uniforms, the race and gender of the soldiers, so it looks like DICE is actually pushing this update as something more accurate to the time period. Let us hope that this is actually how it turns out instead of us playing as black women for the Imperial Army. I think this is actually the first time I have properly associated Battlefield 5 with the Second World War. This trailer does a great job of showing us that we are actually going to play as soldiers which look like the US Army and the Japanese Imperial Army, which is always just fucking good, and it's a good step in the right direction. Alright, up next are 3 new maps. The first is Iwo Jima, described as Beach Landing Mayhem. The map is described as highly dynamic, whereby landing boats, aircrafts and tanks are plentiful, something which I hope is referencing the fact that vehicles at the moment just seem a little bit underutilized and like there aren't enough of them. Next up is a remake of a Battlefield 4 map, which has already made me slightly erect just from saying that sentence, with Pacific Storm, a remake of Paracel Storm. Now, it's assumed that the map will basically be identical to the original, which begs the question, will Levolution be present like it was in the Battlefield 4 version? Who knows? Maybe that will change things up a little bit, maybe DICE have forgotten about that, we'll have to see when it comes out. And finally, coming in December is a remake of Wake Island, easily the most famous map in Battlefield's history. So all 3 maps are islands with plenty of water, and this is obviously something that fits into the Pacific theatre, but also it addresses an issue which I have currently with Battlefield 5, and that is the fact that there aren't really enough maps that focus on water combat. You know, boats fighting each other, big as landing crafts, beach landings, things like that. So hopefully the Pacific Theatre is going to address that, and we're going to have a lot more water combat than we have at the moment. Moving on now, we of course have new weapons which actually respect the US Army and the Japanese Imperial Army. Now, at launch it is stated that we will have 4 weapons available: the M1 Garand, thank fuck, the Type 99 Ariska, the Type 100 SMG, and the M1919A6, which is I guess like the Thompson, but not quite the Thompson. Later on in the chapter, the M3 Grease Gun, the Mambu Type 2A, the Type 97 LMG, and the M1918A2 will be available. There's a lot of fucking letters and stuff in there. Chapter rewards will also include the Jungle Carbine, the Type 94, and the Model 27 sidearms. Now, I'm not a big gun nut because, you know, living in the UK, guns aren't really a thing which people are interested in, at least not as much as other countries. So I only really recognise a few of these weapons, mostly the M1 Garand, the Type 100, Type 97, and I think the Mambu as well, or the Mabu, however you say it, something which I recognise from COD World at War. Finally, there is a new explosive gadget, and this is called the Lunge Mine. It's essentially a massive stick with explosives on the end. It is shown in the trailer. It is where the Japanese soldier goes to run at the American soldier and then gets stabbed in the chest. That is what he was holding, and we will eventually get our hands on that to use on tanks or infantry. Essentially, this is actually the Second World War weaponry which we come to expect. This is something which people are actually going to recognise as a World War II game, rather than the guns which we have in the base game. I'm of course hoping for weapons like the bar as well to make a return, because I think that would be a good step in the right direction. Now, one thing to note is that battle pickups are also making a return in Battlefield 5. This is something which existed in Battlefield 1 and I think Battlefield 3 and 4 as well, with a couple weapons which were just stupidly overpowered. But for the Pacific Theatre, we're getting the Katana and the M2 fucking flamethrower. That is going to be absolutely amazing. Battle pickups were always something which I actually enjoyed in past Battlefield games, so hopefully this is going to add a little bit of diversity to the gameplay. Next up, we have some new vehicles. Now, you'll be able to drive the classic M4 Sherman tank and the Type 97 tank. There's also the introduction of LVTs and light amphibious tanks, dinghy boats and MB jeeps, as well as Type 95 cars. In terms of planes, the US will have the F-4U Corsair and the Japanese will hold the Zero Fighter. Again, just like the weapons, just like the uniforms, just like the gadgets, it's all content which is tying into the faction and the time period. Thank you, DICE, you're actually respecting the war and not just making up a load of fiction to go alongside it. And finally, we have 2 new elites. Now, elites are basically just skins, you know, they're soldiers and nothing really else. I don't believe there's a competitive advantage to it, you just look a little bit cooler. The first is a bloke called Jack Culver, who is going to be the US elite skin, and the second is, well, I can't speak Japanese, so I'll let you try to pronounce that. And yeah, that is pretty much it. That is all of the information so far on the Pacific Theatre for Battlefield 5, releasing on the 31st of October. As I said at the start of the video, this is the first time, I think ever, that I've been truly excited for Battlefield 5. Hopefully, if DICE can get this right and DICE can, you know, leech off of the success of this content update, then we can move on to things like the Eastern Front, where we can deal with, you know, Russia and Germany fighting it out in Stalingrad and fucking Berlin, shit like that. That is the kind of stuff which I want to see. So hopefully this goes down a treat and DICE doesn't fuck it up. But yeah guys, that is pretty much all I have to say for today's video. I will include a link to the article in the description below because I would recommend reading it and, you know, checking out the content at your own pace. I do just want to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then please do feel free to leave a like on it, and if you guys could also subscribe to MZK, then that'd be absolutely fantastic. And as always, I will see you guys on my next video. This is SkintBoot, signing out.